From the day you were born, they taught you to let it go. Not just your focus, not just your time, but your most powerful force, your sexual energy. They said it was natural to release, healthy to indulge. They made it funny, shameful, hidden. They wrapped it in guilt, sold it in screens, and called it freedom. But here's what they didn't tell you. Your sexual energy is not just about desire. It's not just about pleasure. It's your creative core, your life force, the raw fuel of transformation, creation, and ascension. And wasting it? That's not random. That's engineered. Because a human who knows how to harness sexual energy doesn't follow. They lead. They don't consume. They create. They don't seek validation. They radiate power. Ancient systems knew this. They didn't suppress sexuality. They sacralized it. In Kemet, in Vedic India, in Taoist China, the sacred masculine and divine feminine were not opposing forces. They were alchemical twins, and in the center of that union was the serpent, the same serpent that coils at the base of your spine, dormant, waiting, not evil, not dangerous, just untapped. The ancients called it Kundalini, the coiled dragon, the primal current of creative fire. And Thoth? He didn't just write about wisdom. He designed the process of inner transmutation. His teachings were encoded in myth, geometry, and initiation. And at the center of that initiation, mastery of sexual force. But that knowledge didn't survive by accident. It survived by being hidden in plain sight. You see it in the serpent on the staff. You see it in the caduceus. You see it in the number 33, the vertebrae of the spine. You see it in every temple that mapped heaven onto the human body. Because sex was never just sex. It was alchemy. And energy, especially sexual energy, never disappears. It either rises or it leaks. And when it leaks, you lose more than energy. You lose vision. You lose magnetism. You lose sovereignty. So what happens when you're taught, from puberty, to release constantly? You grow up empty, anxious, hooked on dopamine, disconnected from source. Because every time you spill the current, you burn the wire. And that's not just spiritual poetry. That's bioelectric physics. The human body is a generator. Every thought, every emotion, every cell pulses with potential. And the seed of that potential, your deepest battery, is sexual. But you were trained to think of it as something separate from spirituality, something base, something dirty. And now you're told to transcend desire, to suppress it, to escape it. But suppression isn't power, it's separation. And what's separated can't rise. You weren't born addicted, you were made that way. From the moment you first felt energy stir inside you, awkward, confusing, alive, the world gave you a script, not a guide, a weapon. It told you to hide it, to laugh at it, to turn it into fantasy, to turn it into currency. Porn became your first initiation, not into love, but into loss, not into power, but into projection. Because when your sexual energy is externalized, you stop seeing people as sacred. You stop seeing yourself as sacred. And more importantly, you become easy to control. Let's get something straight. This isn't about morality, it's about energy economics. Sexual energy is your most concentrated form of life force. It's not random arousal, it's coded, it's rhythmic, it's intelligent, and every ancient system that actually understood power understood this. Taoists called it Jing, the foundational essence of life. Yogis moved it through the Sushumna, the central channel of awakening. Hermeticists transmuted it into will and vision. Thoth didn't speak of not feeling. He spoke of redirecting fire, because fire doesn't have to burn, it can forge. But here's what's wild. This information isn't lost, it's everywhere. But it's drowned out by algorithms designed to keep you stuck in the lower chakras, stimulated, but scattered, full of energy, but empty of awareness. And while you're draining the current, you're also draining your potential. Ever notice how the more you release without intention, the more your focus fades, the more you indulge, the more your motivation disappears? That's not psychology, that's physics. Your spine is not a support beam, it's a conductor. Your semen, or sexual essence, is not waste. It's fuel, fuel for creativity, fuel for insight, fuel for spiritual propulsion. And when retained, not suppressed but contained, it begins to rise, naturally, without force, without shame. But rising doesn't mean restraint, it means redirection. It means choosing not to chase pleasure, but to channel it. Because pleasure isn't the problem. Disconnection is. You've been told to let go, to release pressure, but you were never taught to build charge, to store it, to swirl it, to ride the wave into clarity, because a charged being doesn't follow orders. They emit orders, energetically. They shape the room without speaking. They attract without chasing. That's not seduction, that's sovereignty. The system doesn't fear your body. It fears what happens when you connect your body to your will. Because sexual energy, when left unclaimed, becomes addiction. But when claimed, it becomes magnetism. People call it aura, presence, vibe. But what they're really feeling is coherence. A being who's no longer leaking energy pulls gravity. They walk into a room and the air changes. They speak and people listen, not because of volume, but because of alignment. So how do you get there? It doesn't start with denial, it starts with attention. You bring awareness to your desire, not to fight it, but to understand it. You trace it, not to suppress it, but to integrate it. Because what you're really chasing isn't pleasure, it's union. And if you can learn to create that union within, masculine and feminine, drive and rest, discipline and surrender, then you don't chase people. You attract them, not to complete you, but to mirror what you've already found. This is the secret of sexual transmutation. It's not celibacy, it's not abstinence, it's alchemy. Alchemy doesn't throw away the base metal. It refines it, turns it, heats it, until what was dense becomes gold. You are that metal, and your sexual energy is the fire. The question is, do you scatter it through screens and impulses, or do you build it, contain it, and convert it into power? That's what the ancient initiates knew. That's what every real mystery school taught. Not repression, redirection. And when you redirect that energy, something starts to change. Your focus sharpens, your voice deepens, your eyes carry weight. You begin to feel charged, not tense, but alive. And here's where it gets deeper. That energy doesn't just sit in the body, it rises, it climbs the spine, activates the glands, ignites the brain, lights up the pineal. Yes, your sexual energy is the key to opening the third eye, because without it, the system's not complete. It's like electricity with no spark, a circuit with no current. That's why the ancients placed so much emphasis on both sex and sight. One activates the other, and that's why you were trained to waste it. Because once those systems connect, you don't just see more clearly, you create more clearly. Your thoughts become sharp, your choices become precise, and your reality starts bending toward your will. So if this is making sense, if something in you feels this truth, then hit subscribe, tap the bell, and stay locked in, because this is the knowledge they buried, and you're just starting to dig. There's a reason this knowledge was buried, because if everyone understood how to redirect their sexual energy, the world wouldn't function the same. Not economically, not politically, not spiritually. Desire fuels the system. Your urge to seek, your need to grasp, your craving to release. Billions are made from keeping you unbalanced, from selling you fantasy, from rewarding you for staying distracted. But here's what the ancients knew. Desire isn't the enemy. Misplaced desire is. They didn't teach suppression, they taught containment with consciousness. There are entire systems built on this principle. In Taoist alchemy, it's called the microcosmic orbit, a method of circulating sexual energy through internal channels, fueling the organs, the heart, and ultimately, the third eye. The energy that once leaked outward now moves upward. It's not metaphor, it's real-time, biological, electromagnetic transmutation. You feel heat in your spine, you feel pressure between your brows. You start remembering things you didn't study, understanding things no one taught you, because the energy is now feeding the mind, not fleeing the body. Thoth knew this. He didn't write manuals on repression. He gave keys to inner technology. He understood that sexuality wasn't a curse to overcome. It was the engine of awakening, but only if you owned it, only if you stopped outsourcing it, stopped addicting yourself to screens and half-presence, stopped calling numbness freedom. They gave you pornography instead of power. They sold you dopamine instead of depth. They fed your hunger and starved your spirit. Because the longer you chase what's outside, the longer you stay asleep inside. But the moment you bring the fire back in, you shift, you stabilize, you become dangerous, not to others, but to every system built on your forgetfulness. And that's why we're here, to remember, not through denial, through reconnection. So how do you begin? You sit with your hunger, you don't suppress it, you witness it, you feel where it lives in your body, you breathe into it, and then you direct it, up the spine, into the heart, into the vision center, into action, art, silence. You begin to realize you've been looking for love in bodies, but it was waiting in your own alignment. You've been chasing energy through others, but it was building, quietly, in your own center. The deeper you go into this, the more everything starts to make sense. Why you're tired, even after resting. Why you're restless, even after pleasure. Why you're empty, even after connection. It's not because you're broken, it's because you've been burning the core fuel without direction. Sexual energy isn't casual, it's not cheap, it's sacred currency. The ancients treated it with ceremony. You treat it with tabs in a browser, not because you're weak, because you've been trained to leak. And here's the part that no one tells you. Every time you transmute that energy, through breath, discipline, movement, creativity, you build internal pressure, but not pressure like tension, pressure like power. Think of a battery. When fully charged, it doesn't panic, it doesn't seek, it radiates. That's what happens to you when you retain, not abstain, retain with purpose. You become magnetized. Suddenly, people are drawn to you, not because of how you look, because of how you hold yourself, because of the weight in your presence, the current in your words, the stillness in your gaze, and the world. It can feel that. Animals notice, strangers notice, you notice, because the veil lifts. You're not just seeing, you're transmitting. This is why the priests of Kemet, the sages of the Himalayas, the mystics of Persia all began with this: energy mastery. Before vision, before wisdom, before alchemy. Because if your vessel leaks, your power spills. But if your vessel holds, everything changes. You become a beacon, not of ideas, but of frequency. And that's what the systems of control fear most. Not your opinions, but your coherence. Because when you're coherent, you don't need permission. You don't seek authority. You move from knowing. You see the world with clear eyes, and you see through it. And in that clarity, your desire no longer runs you. It fuels you. So now you know, your sexual energy isn't random. It's not primal noise. It's source code. The spark of your creation is also the key to your recreation. And when you begin to hold it, really hold it, not with fear, but with fire, something starts to shift. You feel taller in your own body. You move slower, speak less, but say more. You stop explaining yourself. You start embodying what you once chased. And this is where the split ends. Because spirituality isn't up there and sexuality isn't down here. They are one circuit, and if you don't connect them, your light stays dim. The energy in your lower centers wants to rise. It wants to awaken your third eye, your heart, your vision, but only if you become its guide. This is the path Thoth whispered through glyphs and geometry. Not restraint, not shame, sovereignty. And sovereignty doesn't come from saying no. It comes from saying yes to the right direction. You're not here to fight desire. You're here to transmit it upward. Through discipline, through focus, through presence so deep, the current has no choice but to flow home. And now that you've seen the game, you don't get to pretend you didn't. The system wants you distracted, drained, and dependent. But you're remembering now. You're not just flesh, you're frequency. And your sexual energy? It's not your weakness, it's your weapon. So here's the question they never wanted you to ask. What would your life look like if you stopped leaking your power and started living from it, fully, unapologetically, and awake? Drop your answer in the comments, not just for me, for everyone else who's waking up, just like you.